Damn, man. So I'm sure you guys are wondering, man, what the hell is going on? What the hell is going on between Tony and Powder? Man, I'm gonna tell you guys like this, man. And that dude right there for a long, long time, man. He was like my right-hand man, man. That was my ace deuce right there. And I'm talking someone that I would talk to literally on the daily basis. A few times a day. You know, so with that being said, you know, I still have some type of respect for the individual. So I'm not the type of person to sit there and put all the business out there like that. I'm not going to sit here and bash him, degrade him, you know, make stuff up about him. Because that's not the type of dude that I am. You know, that's facts. If yesterday's video was made, you know, what's the hype up the fight? But at the same time, it was to kind of twist and show you guys straight up, man, that you know what, that every single one of these videos are 100% facts. Nothing is made up. You know, there's always going to be somebody to corroborate the other side of the story, that it's all true. You know, I'm sure you guys have seen that video that he went on somebody else's show and he said that all the stories that he made on the show were made up. You know, that they were all BS. He fabricated all these stories. Now, I understand that he's under a lot of pressure. I understand that perhaps there might be some type of indictment involved. However, straight up, that doesn't justify. It doesn't give you the privilege to say those types of things and try to discredit, you know, what you have done on this channel. You know what I'm saying? Me personally, I have never coached someone to lie. I have never told someone, hey, make up a bunch of BS. No, stories written by a current person that is the real deal. These are the real stories of the incarcerated. Now, the last thing I'm going to say about Potter, man, he's a cool dude, straight up. He's one of my favorite speakers, even to this very day. But things changed. The moment he went on somebody else's show and he threw my first and last name out there, things changed. Things changed, man. Straight up. So from here on forward, you know, I heard that he was going to call me. Cool. I'll talk to him. You know, see what he got to say. Will he ever come back to the show? I'm not sure. I'm not sure, man. Things have changed. I got nothing but respect for the cat. You know, good luck to him. And I wish him for nothing but success. That's what happened. So let's go ahead and dive into the story right quick. The contracts are signed. You know, I just had to throw this in real quick. This isn't a north and south type thing. I know yesterday, you know, we got a little amped up and it might have came off as such. However, straight up, man, you know, we're just trying to box. You know, me and Gunner, contracts are already signed. Me and him are boxing for sure. You know, my boy Jimmy, he's trying to get up in there. So, you know, we want to go at it with Gunner's team. So, you know, August 13th is going down. Hit the like for your boy.
Okay, Jeremy, brother, man, you can go ahead and continue where you left off, sir.
All right. So, you know, I got the BGF sticking up for me, and I'm sitting back and I'm thinking about debriefing, and that thought comes in my head, and I'm like, where the fuck did this thought come from? It's not who I am. One thing that I've never been was a coward. One thing I never ran, and it shocked me that this thought came in my head, you know. And so, you know, and I'm sitting back and I'm thinking about all these dudes that were my brothers and all these dudes that were my friends and that I thought were my friends, and I thought about respect and what respect meant, and I thought about just the thoughts that came into my head, and I dismissed them. I was like, dude, you're weak. This shit's getting to you. Here's what you need to do. You need to get your hands on one of these dudes and just kill them. That'll solve the problem. That was one of the lessons that I learned from Stinson, and was that, hey, if someone is doing or saying something that you don't like, or even if it's the truth, whoever's the most violent and the most ruthless and wins the argument. A blood and a knife and blood wins over everything, and I remember that lesson coming in my mind. I'm thinking, you know what? I'll just whack one of these motherfuckers and move on with this with my criminal.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
So I sat there and I plotted and planned for the next year to get my neighbor. And I tried every little tactic to do it. I stayed under the stairs. I kind of hid out in the yard for a second. I kind of kneeled down between showers to get him. Because the way they ran the program there was they would open the door, close the door. So we would go to the showers, they would one cell at a time. He would lock up, the next cell would come out for a shower. And so that was my plan for a year. And then the thought came back in my head again, and I was like, what the hell? What the hell's wrong with me? And when that thought came in my head, it was the BGF again that came to me and said, hey, we overheard Todd lying about some shit that we know he said, and we spoke up for you. And I started thinking, what the fuck? You know what I mean? You got these guys, speaking up for me. What the fuck's going on here? And so I made a decision to debrief, and it took me 3 months to actually go through with it. And when I finally did, I ended up debriefing. It started my process in 2014 and finished it in 2015. And went to New Folsom. Was at New Folsom. Went to board once there. They wanted me to go SNY, so I went SNY, came to Mill Creek, been to board once here. They gave me another 3-year denial, and hopefully one day I'll have a chance to go home. And that's pretty much my story in a nutshell right there. So if there's any questions you have or any little stories that you want me to elaborate on, all you got to do is ask. I'm an open book. Like I said, I have, I can tell you about Yandell. I can tell you about, going back to the first time. Are we still recording?
Yeah, absolutely. We're still recording. Would you mind elaborating on Yandel?
Excuse me?
Would you mind elaborating on Ronald Yandel?
So Ronnie Yandell he goes by Renegade. He was in the state of California for a while, and then he went to the feds. And in the feds, he became a member of the Aryan Brotherhood in the feds. So there's only 2 brands that recognize each other. The California faction recognizes the federal faction, and the federal faction recognizes the California faction, and that's it. You have Aryan Brotherhood in Arizona, Texas, and almost every other state. But the only 2 that recognize each other, as far as California is concerned, is the California and the federal brand. Any other member from any other state that comes to California is told to sit down, be quiet, and don't fly those letters. And if they do, they get assassinated. So
has that ever been the case? Real quick, has that ever been the case, Jeremy? That someone actually came from another state, claiming to be, a Utah Aryan Brotherhood or Arizona Aryan Brotherhood, and being told to sit down?
So yes, there was one Campbell. I can't remember his first name. He came from Arizona, and he was told, "Hey, check it out. Just keep your mouth shut. You're not a brother. Don't fly the rock. Don't say nothing. As a matter of fact, first chance you get to cover up the shamrock." And he kind of hid out on the main lines for a while, and ended up locking up at SADF. So when Ronnie came from the feds to the state, he went to Cocoa County, and while he was in Cocoa County, apparently some of the federal guys told him, look, you can make whoever you want to make, so you have a brother with you wherever you're at. So he found a kid named Irwin, Ronnie Irwin, and he made him a brother overnight. And so Ronnie Irwin, and this is in county jail, never been to prison before, never done nothing. And so for whatever reason, he likes this kid. So the kid ends up going to Corcoran. Well, in Corcoran, he's down there with Mickey and Buzzard and some of these other brothers that are down there, and they send word up to us up the bay saying, hey, who is this dude, Ronnie Irwin? You know, he says he's a brother, and nobody's never heard of him. There ain't a single person here that's ever heard this dude's name before. But he's saying that some dude named Ronnie Yandell fucking made him. Who the fuck is this dude? So the word comes around, no one knew who he was, and then we recognized Ronnie Yandell's name, or Renegade, from being from the feds. So we were trying to find who trying to get in contact with him. So finally we get in contact with him, and I was in B pod, he was in A pod, and I was asked to pull him up and ask him, hey, what's the deal with this? So he told me, hey, this is what I did. I made this dude a brother, and I had permission to do it. So I went back and relayed the message to Asker and Danny T. And this was when Danny was still on the commission. And they said, look, can you do us a favor? I need you to pull him up and explain to him how this shit works in the state. That he just can't be going around making brothers. That there's actually a process for it. So I went and pulled Ronnie up, and that was the first time him and I bumped heads. He didn't take too kindly to be pulled up and told that what he can and can't do in the state. He was used to following, the guys' rules in the feds. So that was the first time him and I bumped heads. The second time him and I bumped heads was a guy named Two Scoops, Brent Daniels. He was over in D4. Now, I first met Two Scoops, at High Desert. Now, Two Scoops is just like the name entails, he's a big, fat, nasty-looking motherfucker. And he was at High Desert when I first met him. And he went out to the yard and ended up stabbing somebody and went to the hole. I don't remember what it was for, what it was behind. And I think I only talked to him a couple of times. So he shows up there in Pelican Bay, and he's got Indian Summer shoe term for being associate of the brand. Well, he's over in D4, and there was a guy named Squirrel from San Diego. He would do drawings, and he did a bunch of drawings for a brother named Frank Clement. Well, Frank, his wife, we would sell the drawings online, and that was kind of the way that we were making a little bit of money when we were up there. Well, Squirrel needed a TV, so he did some drawings for Frank so that Frank's wife can sell it and buy him a TV. So he sends the drawings out. She doesn't get on it right away, so he writes her a letter, says, hey, check this out, bitch, where's my shit, where's my money? Well, Squirrel's not a brother.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
And you don't talk to a brother's wife that way. So Frank had Two Scoops. Instead of doing it himself, he had Two Scoops spear him through the corrugated doors that we had up there. So Scoops and told him, hey, look, if you do this, I'll look at you to be a brother. And that was kind of a hook that we would all use to guys, because everybody wanted to be one of us. So we would tell them or put it out there or even just hint about it that, hey, you do this, we'll look at you to possibly be to being one of us. And guys would jump at the opportunity. So Scoops does it. He ends up spearing Squirrel, and he comes over. They move him out of D4 into D2 into A-Pod. So he gets over there right next door to Ronnie, and it tells Ronnie the story. Ronnie gets at me, and I tell him, look, we heard rumors that Two Scoops was a blood out there on the streets. And he's like, no, I don't think so. I say, look, hey, I'm just telling you, before you look at anything about this or anything, let's kind of do a little investigation. So he says, no. He goes, I'm a good judge of character, and so he goes to make him a brother. So he puts him up. I had a little bit of reservations about it. But Ronnie gets at me and says, hey, I need you to second this for me. And I said, all right. I mean, if I'll second it, but if any of this shit comes back, he goes, don't even trip. I got this. So I second Scoops, right? So, because that's one of the things that we did while we were up there. I would help him out, and then I would have political clout for something that I wanted to do. It was just the way politics works. So I'm talking to Scoops one day, and I ask him, hey man, hey, what are you doing time for? Hey, let me, shoot your paperwork over. And he says, hey, I'm doing 25 to life for whacking the motherfucker that raped my sister. I'm like, okay, cool, you know what I mean? So I assumed that he killed this dude. 25 to life, I assumed he killed him. So I was talking to Ronnie about it. And I told him, yeah, I guess he's murdering somebody, but that's not what we found out. He's doing a third strike. But why would he tell me to kill somebody if he's just doing a third strike? So Ronnie goes in and talks to Scoops and says that's not what he told you. So him and I bumped heads on that because I caught his little prospect in a lie. So that was our second little run-in, okay? And Ronnie and I never really seen eye to eye. So he walks around like he's a tough guy. And when I was at New Folsom, Ronnie he has juice. Rumor has it was running the brand, the Northern California, for the brand. Well, I had to go to, I was with the board over there. Now, I've debriefed, and, everything that goes along with debriefing I've done. And he knows about it, because I was on A yard, he was on B yard, and all the cops would talk about me over there, and they would come and tell me, hey, fucking Ronnie hates you.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
So I'm at New Folsom, and I'm on A yard, and Ronnie Yandell's on B yard, and all the cops and guards are telling him, hey, Zap's over there, Beasley's over there, and he's talking gang of shit. They would come over and tell me, this dude is talking gang of shit about you. I was working for HFM at the time, and my supervisors would go over there to B yard to work in the clinic. And he was the porter in the clinic right there, and they would talk about me because I was the clerk, and he would just, gang of shit. I'm weak, I'm a bitch, I'm a punk, I'm a liar, you name it. That's what I am, because that's what we do. The guys that drop out, the guys that debrief, I've done it. They're the weakest of the weak. We're just scum. Well, when my board comes up, the officers take me from A facility to B facility up to visiting to the boardroom. And there's two ways to go. There's the back way, which goes up back through like the ISU area and then through visiting and comes back down to the visiting room. And then there's the front way, where you go through the clinic and through the celly floor where Yandell's working, where Ronnie's working. So we go, and I tell the cop, hey, it probably wouldn't be a good idea to take me through there. I'm in handcuffs, and he goes, don't worry about it. I'm like, whatever. I'm not going to trip on it, right? So we walk through the hallway, and when I'm coming down the hallway, and I look down, and there's a bunch of cops down there talking to Ronnie. He was sitting there bullshitting with them, and the cops look back at me, and they look back at Ronnie, look back at me, and their faces went white. And then Ronnie looks at me, and you could tell he recognized me. And he sat there, and he had his hand on a broom, and he just stared at me. Well, I'm walking closer, and I'm within 20 feet of him, and I see him, and we make eye contact, and the cop said, hey, escort, step aside. So he steps to the right, and I had to come out into the sally port and turn to the left. And I thought for sure this dude was going to stab me right then and there. I thought for sure my life was over. And so I step out and turn left. I look over my shoulder, and he's standing there just giving me the evilest fucking look you can imagine, right? And I walk up the stairs, and I look back down from the top of the stairs down at him, and he's just sitting there just looking at me. All the cops are now out in the rotunda, and they're just staring like they couldn't believe what just happened. And they open up the door. I walked in, and the escort cops goes, damn, that dude fucking hates you, doesn't he? I said, yeah, he doesn't care too much for me. And so I figured now, when I leave, I'm done.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Hey, he knows I'm there. He knows I'm going to leave at some point. So when my board was over, I was up there for about 5 hours. So in the morning, this was around 7 in the morning. So I leave around, I think it was about 2:30. When I go to leave, I come out and I don't say shit to the cops. I figured whatever's going to happen is going to happen. And I come down and there was a MA member, I think it was Wedo Cavallo, was right there, an Asian dude, and a big-ass white boy with a red beard. And I'm thinking, there he is right there. That's the shooter. You know what I mean? I'm looking for Ronnie. I don't see Ronnie. I'm coming down the stairs, and that white boy was just standing right there. And so I figured as soon as I walk in that hallway, I'm dead, because I figured that dude, Ronnie's in the hallway. The big old, white boy is going to come up behind, and I'm fucked. And the cops that I was with, they weren't the best shaped cops you've ever seen. They were your typical guards. Your character of a guard, if you will. And so I go down the hallway, and I'm waiting for it, and nothing. Now, there's one more turn before we get to the end. I'm thinking this is it, I turn that corner, nothing. Door opens. I step out. Door closes, and not a single thing. Ronnie had a perfect opportunity to get me, and he didn't do it. And that's because, don't get me wrong, 20, 30 years ago, he was about something. But all that shit that he talks about now, he would prefer to have someone else do it, the dirty work for him. It was the same thing. What I find funny is he's having dudes murdered left and right. He's having dudes killed and stabbed up on the yard, but he can't do nothing himself. Not that I'm justifying any of that or saying any of that shit's right, but it's what the gangs do. It's what he does. He uses people. A good example was that one dude he made, that dude Ronnie Irwin, ended up locking up. And he was there on the yard, being escorted across the yard, and Ronnie didn't do nothing there at that time either. So here's, two opportunities that dude had to put in some work, and he didn't do it, Granted, he did a cell extraction when they were trying to move him out of SAC, because he did not want to leave SAC, because that's where his power base is at. And he cell extracted, but he didn't do shit. That's who Ronnie Yandell is.